Welcome back to Shemsuniverse. So today, guys, we're going to discuss Mercury and all 12 of the astrological houses. So Mercury is where your intellect naturally goes. When you have Mercury in any specific house, this is where you kind of naturally specialize in knowledge very easily, and it's kind of where your interests are going to lie. I'm not going to say that this is where your passion is, but it is where your intellect naturally goes. So this is something to take into consideration for when you're considering a career, and just when you're considering what you're naturally going to be good at. So how to weaponize that is look at which house it falls in, and then see what you can do with that to either make money, or to either just provide benefit to yourself or with others. All right, so let's get right into it. So when you have Mercury in the first house, this means that you're somebody who you're able to control your emotions quite well. You approach problems in different situations, different environments with the logical, rational sort of mindset. You don't look at things from an emotional perspective necessarily. You do definitely have a fiery passion through your intellectualism, but it doesn't really interfere with your logic, and that's a very important attribute to have. You guys are naturally good with competition, sports, anything to do with winning. And your intellectualism is going to want you to essentially figure out how to win in any endeavor that you go into. So this is a very adaptable place to have Mercury, because if you're good at science, you're going to figure out how to become like the best scientist, the best medical doctor. If you're into sports, you want to become team captain, or you want to be the MVP. It really brings out the best in you, just because it makes you learn and have time to research and have the patience to adapt to new situations, and then understand your environment and then thrive in it. So it's very, very good for that. Mercury in the second house is very beneficial as well. Mercury in all these houses is going to be beneficial, guys, just so you know. Mercury is a very beneficial planet. So wherever it resides, it's where you're definitely going to have a very benefic sort of aspect to your life. So Mercury in the second house is going to really want to learn how to get rich. It's going to want to learn how to obtain high quality goods. Things like a nice house, nice shoes, nice watches, nice clothes. All of these things are going to come in, because it's going to interact with what's called the Taurus house, the Venus house, and it's going to really want you to put your intellectualism towards getting money and getting things that are going to be tangible to you. So finding out stability like finances, stocks, investing, all of those things will come quite naturally to you. You're going to want to definitely learn about those things, and it's something that's just a given. Whatever your immediate environment gives you in regards to making money, you'll master that, and if that's not good enough, you'll expand very naturally. So if you have Mercury there, your main focus really should be money, and it really should be how to make more money in different ways. All right? The third house, guys, when you have Mercury in the third, this means that you have a lot of intellectualism for education and for school. So this just simply means that you can be somebody who can be like a political reformer, you could be a writer, an orator, a journalist. This is where I have my Mercury placed. So this makes you a very good spokesperson. This makes you somebody who could be like even a radio host, somebody who has a podcast, somebody who does YouTube. It really, really makes you good at getting across your ideas and also learning large pieces of information quite quickly. So this makes you sort of the fast learner. It makes you somebody who's able to research, delve deep into things, and also learn them quite quickly. Um, the only thing to watch out for is overanalysis when you have, because this is the Mercury house as well. So when you have the Mercury in the Gemini house, what you have to watch out for is just overanalyzing information to the point where you do nothing with it. Always focus on what am I learning, why am I learning it, and how do I plan on applying it? If you can apply those three questions when you have this in that house, you'll be perfectly fine. The fourth house with Mercury in it really brings you to a changeable environment, because you may have a good family, because Mercury does bring benefits there. But if you happen to not, based on the rest of your natal chart, you'll figure out ways to change locations quite quickly. You'll change jobs quite frequently, and you're somebody who's able to understand people's emotions quite well. What happens here is Mercury is going to give you the intellectualism to sort of put a more of a cold outlook on your emotions in the fourth house. This fourth house is very emotional. It's associated with Cancer. It's associated with family, and patterns that you get from your ancestry. So when you have Mercury there, it's going to make you analyze all of those things in a very cold and calculated way, and in turn you'll be able to weaponize it quite easily. So you're going to see whether or not your family and friends and your peers, your general environment is useful to you. And then if it's not, you're going to learn about that and then learn about other environments and then move on and move forward from there. And then your ascension will begin. My biggest advice to you guys is not to be too fickle and not superficial, and make sure that you still do take relationships and people seriously and not just look at them as something on a utilitarian basis. It's good to be weaponized, but there's also always a need for balance in life. The next one I wanted to cover was the Mercury in the fifth house, which is represented by Leo. So this really brings you to like artistic creation. You guys can be very duplicitous. You guys are very narcissistic in a sense. Just because Mercury makes you so smart in regards to social dynamics and in performing and just being generally creative. You guys can also do what's similar to Gemini with writing and speaking and so forth. But you guys do have a very cunning edge to you because where Gemini lacks that social dynamic, that natural confidence, might be a little bit nervous. When you have it in the Leo house, this comes with an abundance of confidence. So when that happens, you guys can very easily become celebrities, become people who are the people's person. Just simply because you exude traits that other people wish they could have, but you have them very naturally. So use that gift to your advantage, but don't overuse it to the point where people think you're too self-indulgent. All right. Having Mercury now in the sixth house, this is where Mercury is somewhat ascended. When Mercury is has a conjunction with Virgo in general, usually is ascended. This makes you a natural analyst, a mechanic, technician, and engineer. But you could be a hypochondriac based on your health. So what happens when Mercury is in the sixth? It makes you somebody who's very detail oriented. When Mercury was in the third, it made you somebody who's good at writing and speaking. In the sixth, it makes you somebody who's ambidextrous. It makes you somebody who's good working with your hands. You're able to really understand how detailed things work, and you want to delve deeply, and you have a very long-lasting focus that can be quite penetrating to your reality. So when you have that there, just make sure that you do use it in a positive way. I brought up being a hypochondriac because people that have Mercury in the sixth, if they have any sort of deficit with their body, whether that be like tendonitis, arthritis, any sort of injuries whatsoever that they acquired from sports, or even just having a simple cold or flu, because their mind looks so deeply into things, they'll even research that, like the flu, and then make that thing worse because your mind is acknowledging it and putting energy into it and then enhancing the effects of it. So just make sure that you're using that penetrating mind to penetrate positive things and not just negative things, because you can still get a very negative throw off if you just look at it in that sort of concept. Okay? Moving on to the seventh house. If you have Mercury within your seventh, this would mean that you're somebody who you guys are very smart when it comes to one-on-one relationships. This can make you guys a very good psychologist, psychiatrist, therapist, any sort of anything in the medical field whatsoever. When it comes to dealing with like patients and people who may be suffering from something, you guys are very able to enhance your empathy in an intellectual way. You guys still could be quite unbalanced when it comes to relationships in an intimate fashion. But that's just something that I'd recommend working on. But aside from that, you should use this as a career to work with people one on one, whether that be like a life coach, like I said, a doctor, an arbitrator, lawyer, mediator. All of these things come into play. But what you want to do is make sure that you're working either with one on one or a small group of people so that your intellectualism with empathy can be utilized and actually make you more money. The next one I want to cover is Mercury in the eighth. So Mercury in the eighth is about understanding the taboos, the mystery behind life. These type of people make great scientists and make good medical practitioners as well, but also military personnel, police officers, different things like general, admiral, forensics, just because you guys like to really uncover the dark truths. You guys like the darkness behind life. So when a lot of people they want to view the positive side of life, your intellect will go towards the negative or the occult, and you can still have a very strong mental acumen there, whereas that would break a lot more people down. Like I said, with people in the sixth house, when they focus on negativity, it overcomes them. The darkness pretty much takes over their body. With you guys, when you focus on it, you want to know so much about it just because you want to break it down and you want to be able to utilize it to your advantage. You guys are very much about self-improvement. Just look out for becoming overly obsessed and overly compulsive when it comes to investing in things like self improvement books and things like that. Just make sure that you are applying what you're learning directly, just like I recommended with the third house. And once you're able to apply these things and really show in your life how you're improving tangibly, you'll find a lot more contentment with your life, and you'll also be very, very successful in whatever occupation that you choose. The next one I want to cover is the ninth house with Mercury. Mercury in the ninth is quite positive. It just brings air to the fire of Sagittarius. So what happens here is you guys are people who will probably end up traveling to a lot of foreign land. You guys can do things like real estate, becoming pilots, flight attendants, things that revolve around traveling, even bus transportation, trucking. All of those things work well for you guys because you guys need the mental stimulation of a new environment. Exploration is extremely important to you guys. You guys are the kind of the warriors, the conquerors, the people that really want to see outside of the box, outside of where they were born, and then expand and take over different pieces of land across the world. In order to do that, you need to be rich in this day and age. And to do that, I'd recommend getting a career that's going to allow you to explore and then find out where you'd like to possibly retire or even start your family. Once you're able to figure out those things, you can then have a better roadmap to how you want your life to go. Moving on to Mercury in the 10th. The 10th, when it's mixed with Saturn, Mercury is the fastest planet in our universe, and Saturn is the slowest. So when you have Mercury with Capricorn, which is represented by Saturn, what we have here is somebody who's going to really have a strong emphasis on getting rich and successful quickly. And what happens is you guys are actually quite able to do that because Capricorn is so grounded and focused and methodical, whereas the Mercury brings forth that fast decision-making calculative process that you end up making fast decisions in a very calculated and grounded way, where you're like, I have this as an option. This is my best one. I'm not sure if it's going to work, but it's my best option right now, and you guys just go for it. So you guys are really like the chess masters of this world. You guys can definitely be politicians, CEOs, people that run different charitable organizations. All of those things would fall under with you guys because you're able to really make quick decisions that other people do not want to make. And I cannot over exaggerate it, over reiterate it to you guys. You need to understand that the ability to make decisions minus anxiety is something that a lot of people cannot do, and it's something that you guys can do quite well. So my recommendation would be to figure out a career in which you're making a lot of decisions, whether that's in a leadership position or an organizer of a company or human resources. Things like that is where you want to point your mind to, point your energy to, because that's where you're going to be appreciated the most. All right? Moving on to the 11th house. When you have Mercury in the 11th, this makes it a lot easier for when people come in and out of your life. You guys will literally view friends as people that are meant to just come in and out, and you'll be going in and out of people's lives as well. Whether you're the black sheep in your family or not will not really particularly matter. Mercury makes you point your intellectualism towards your own innovations and your own ideas. This is a very entrepreneurial position to have Mercury in. This means that you're going to definitely go your own way. And school may not even be a good idea for you. The reason being, Aquarius is so much about self-learning and self-awareness and really learning about different aspects of life that you guys don't necessarily need school for your career or profession that you're going to choose. Usually you guys are entrepreneurs, you guys are people that end up figuring out different inventions that's going to benefit our world. So you might want to point your attention more towards doing things like that in comparison to following the regular status quo of your said country. All right. Final one is our 12th. The 12th house with Pisces in it, when you have Mercury mixed with that, it does bring a very strong conflict between the emotionality and intellectual parts of your brain, because you have Mercury, which is so intellectual, could be superficial, very quick-minded, very able to grasp new ideas and new things, and just wants to move on with life. Whereas Pisces, it wants to take everything in. It wants to understand. It wants to find a deeper spiritual meaning. So when you have Pisces and Mercury mixed like this, what you want to do essentially is take the time to smell the roses, take the time to experience your present environment, but also learn as much as you possibly can. Look at each moment, every day, every hour of your life as something that you can learn from and use it to advance you to the post that you want to be in. People that have Pisces is very similar like Cancer and very similar to Libra as well. I would say utilize things like in the medical field, the healing arts. Maybe you guys can get more into spirituality and doing readings, astrology, numerology, palmistry, tarot cards. Things like that will be very beneficial to you guys because you need to have that spiritual foundation in order to really grow from. And when you can learn from it and then utilize it to make money, that's where you're going to find your passion. That's where you're going to find contentment within your life. All right. So that does conclude my video for the Mercury, in all of these 12 houses. But if you guys do have any questions regarding anything regarding Mercury in any of these 12 houses, just please let me know in the comments and I'll answer any conjunction questions or just any inquiries you guys may have whatsoever. But aside from that, guys, please like, subscribe. All me tip for today, guys. Peace.